Hey everyone, Jason here with Pro Church Audio. Just giving you a quick tip on if you get to that point where you're doing your live streaming, and have you ever just felt like your mix was too close and too anemic? One of the biggest and easiest fixes to that is to set up a couple of room mics in your room. Most of the time these are used to get, if you have people in your room, which today in our COVID-19 situation may or may not be the case for your church. But if you have, back when we had crowds and audiences in our congregations, in our churches, that we were using these mics oftentimes to catch the audience, the congregation response to whatever was happening. And they're really useful for that. But even without a congregation present, you can still use these mics to help capture the room sound in a really quick situation where maybe you don't have really good effects plugins, or maybe you have an inexperienced volunteer who's maybe running your live stream broadcast for you this Sunday. So you can set up a pretty quick template using a couple of room mics that are placed about maybe halfway to 2/3 back in your auditorium, and use these. Make sure they're not against a wall, but make sure that they're far enough from a wall that you aren't picking up any extra boominess that's not necessary. Keeping them against a wall, bass tends to build up towards walls, so bringing them out from the wall a foot or two or more, depending on the size of your room. Suspending these if possible. If you don't have people in the room, then of course you can always put them on stands right wherever you need them. I try to make sure that they're kind of a matched pair as close as possible, and that they're matched in the room, pointing generally towards the stage, towards the platform, and towards where they're capturing some of your PA. Because if your house sound is there, you're going to let these kind of do the heavy lifting for you. So here's a band, just a pretty typical worship band setup with drums, bass, a couple acoustic guitars, an electric guitar, a keyboard, and a lead vocal, and a couple background vocals. Here's a situation where you can use these mics. So we're just going to, I have everything else muted or pulled down. We're just going to listen to the room mics. We've panned them hard left and hard right, and I've added a fairly aggressive low pass or high pass filter here with a dip again around the 400 range. There's some unpleasant roominess in the room mics, and so dip that out. Otherwise it's pretty flat, and did the same to the other side as well. And so here's the room mics. Let's take a quick listen and see kind of what that sounds like. Okay, so you see it's kind of a distant sound, not something that all by itself you'd probably want to put out on the air, though if you had to choose between that sound and that really close, boomy, no room sound, this may be a better option, but still not what you're looking for. But it makes it really easy to dial in the rest of your mix. So we're going to use this as our bass line. Now we're just going to build in the rest of the mix around it. So we're going to start with the lead vocal, we're going to go to the drums, and then build from the bottom up, and see what that does for us. Come all you thirsty, come to the well that never runs dry. Drink of the water, come and thirst no more. Come all you sinners, come find his mercy. Come to the table, he will satisfy. Taste of his goodness, find what you're looking for. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. Bring all your failures, bring your addiction.
Jesus is waiting there, open arms.
So you see there how really quickly, just with some room mics, was able to dial in a mix, no effects, no anything. This is a pretty basic way to do it. Have some delays here that you can play with. If your room mics are really far away from the stage, you can play with a delay to try to get it a little closer. I've turned these off for right now because I'm going to need to spend a little bit more time dialing those in. But typically you can use a delay to kind of bring that a little, your room mics kind of a little closer. Everything that I have here is running through these 4 subgroups before it goes out to the mix bus. Other than the room mics, they're on their own. They're going straight to the mix bus, and then have a drum master, a vocal master, program master, which is everything but drums and vocals, plus then there's effects. But in that case, we're not using any effects right now, so it's muted. So this is a really quick and easy way to kind of dial in a fast mix using room mics that pretty much anybody could do. And maybe it'll give you help this summer if you're going to be out on vacation. If you guys are typically doing a post-production mix after the fact, but maybe you don't have time, or in a pinch if you need it in a live situation where you're using a DAW or even using another console, this same principle will work. You just need to bring your room mics into the console that you're using for your broadcast mix. Don't bring them back into your house mix. These are going to be just used for your broadcast feed, whether it be in post or whether it be live, but the principle works the same way. And you can set up a simple template that can allow you to do this with just a couple of mics that really take the edge off of your broadcast mix volunteer and let the house mix kind of do the heavy lifting for you, and then just bring in each individual bus or each individual channel as it's needed. And in this case, we're just using drums, bass, keyboards. The acoustics are on their own bus, electric bus, lead vocal, and background vocal buses. So basically 7 faders plus your room mic is all that you really need in a typical band environment to be able to dial in a mix that sounds halfway decent on your live mix. And so we're going to listen to this. I'm going to play it again, pull the room mics out, and you can see how that sounds a lot like what a lot of typical live stream mixes sound like.
Come all you weary, come all you thirsty, come to the well that never runs dry. Drink up.
So it's not bad. It sounds fairly tight, but it's missing that space and dimension. So once you use the room mics to do the heavy lifting, then you pull in everything else where it sounds pretty good. Now you can pull your room mics back down to get rid of some of the boominess or some of the echo, but still be there as the presence and still help do the heavy lifting for your mix.
Come all you weary, come all you thirsty, come to the well that never runs dry. Drink of the water, come and thirst no more. Come all you sinners, come find his mercy, come to the table, he will satisfy.
So there you go. There's the room mic mix trick. Get a couple of room mics. If you click below, I've added some extra, some links to some room mics on a number of different budgets that you can use. They don't have to be high budget microphones. We have some in there for even $100 a piece that will work in this situation, and let them do the heavy lifting for you. Set your volunteers up for success. Let your broadcast mix really speak and breathe much easier with simply just adding a couple room mics to your situation. So I hope that helps. Until next time, have a great time mixing, improving your quality of your broadcast, and getting yourself beyond the 4 walls of your church. Until next time, thanks.